The question of whether we need to be planning for water is really a good one. When we're thinking about water, the real problem that we have as a society is that we don't usually see the thing that we are wondering about whether we have enough of.
The water resource in Indiana is such an economic tool, an advantage to have a good feel for that. If I was an industry and looking to be positioned somewhere in the country, if you're a big water user, having a water plan, I think would be important for my company.
Water will never become a less important thing if we look forward over decades or centuries. It's going to become more and more important. In order for public officials to really do the job of helping guide community growth, we need to understand what the consequences of our water use might be and how much there really is.
The state of Indiana last did water planning back in the 1980s. The establishment of the Central Indiana Water Study was kind of the first step into redoing that water study, updating it for the current situation. The first phase was in the southeast portion of the state. Central Indiana is kind of the next step. We're completing that now, and then we're looking on to move to different areas in the future to further fill out the state.
So if we think about water, if we know something that we currently don't have the information about, but if we all of a sudden are informed about how much water could be extracted from the ground, for example, or from a river without damaging downstream users, we would at least be able to say, all right, at some point we need to talk to our neighbor, because whatever they're doing might affect me, or whatever I do could affect them. But right now, we don't even have enough information to make a decision that we need to talk to our neighbor.
The state of Indiana has approximately 60 continuously recording groundwater wells that aren't real-time. We also have about 30 real-time transmitting groundwater wells. And so we're partnering with the Indiana Finance Authority and Indiana Department of Natural Resources to build up that number of real-time transmitting wells. This gives us a monitoring point to kind of look at the impact of water use in this area and also water resources within the area, how it's being used and how it's being replenished through precipitation and climate effects. That data is what water planners all use to look at the resources across the state. Division of Water uses the data from all of our wells to look at drought conditions or times of excess water and evaluate how much water there is within the system and within the state. This well is within the East Fork White River basin. This is the only real-time well I believe we have in this basin. Geographically speaking, this is an important well just for that case, that we don't really have any monitoring points within this basin to look at.
One of the things that is critical to management is to understand what the effect of your management is having on the thing of interest, in this case water. Stream flows, water levels in the aquifer. The only way that we can answer those questions, besides building a model that is a kind of idealized version of the systems, is to actually measure. And we don't have that many measurements. We have a couple hundred data points for stream flows in our whole state. But the density that's needed is probably an order of magnitude, at least higher. For example, in Minnesota, they have thousands of measurements of water levels in aquifers. We don't. We have one in a county, maybe. In a few counties we have more, but mostly it's one per county, if that. So we can't draw conclusions with that data, but to understand how our management strategies are affecting the resource, we need to have 10s and 20s and 30 data points for water levels in aquifers, stream flows, etc., so that we can really see the effect of our management. We had to pull from various agencies, we had to pull from state and federal agencies to make the report whole. And so we need to better manage the data after it's collected, but we really need an overview, a kind of a single way to look at the resource. And that's what's been, I think, missing. We have to think differently about water quality and take it more seriously as something that can inform our decision-making on water resources. Here in Indiana, what water management requires is collaboration among the utilities that use it. And the reason that they need to collaborate is because it isn't the same community that we had 50 years ago, which were isolated from one another.
The statewide study that's underway now, the regional planning and stuff that's going on with the IFA and the monitoring programs, I think legislators need to keep pushing in that direction.
The way that we get ahead of the game, the way that our state gets in front of the problem of water supply and water availability, is we conduct these kinds of investigations within regions that can then inform the future development. We have to do that, and it has to be both a water resource, water availability question, as well as a water quality question. We have to invest in ourselves. Most other states of our size are pouring tens of millions of dollars into this because it is the first question that comes up when a new company is deciding whether to move into an area. It's their first question, not their third or their sixth or anything. The first question is there adequate water? And if there isn't adequate water, most places don't even know if there's adequate water. They can say, I'm not sure, but that doesn't help us as a state. Our economy has to be able to respond to the needs, and the needs now are related to water. We're in a great position as a state to deliver adequate water. We need to inform ourselves. That isn't expensive.